But Jim, another quote that a lot of the listeners have sent in. This is apparently originally from the WrestleOps Twitter account. It's a transcription of something
WrestleOps?
It's a transcription of an interview from the Not Skinny But Not Fat podcast.
Oh, now, come on now. Is this all just made up? Are these even real things that occur?
Well, here is a quote from Nikki Bella, or the former Nikki Bella, Nikki Garcia, I presume, about how WWE never talked to them about keeping their names after they left. Here's a quote. We thought, oh, maybe there'll be a conversation because we have such a huge brand and we were actually making WWE a lot of money. So we actually thought there was going to be a conversation of like, okay, if you guys aren't re-signing, let's talk about the name. Maybe when you do future projects, we take a percentage, you keep the name. I'll be honest, I got a lawyer letter 4 hours before my contract was ending.
A lawyer letter?
4 hours. That is a funny way of phrasing it.
I got a lawyer letter out of these people.
I got a lawyer letter 4 hours before my contract was ending that they were ceasing it all. So, and I keep that letter in my office so I could always see it. And just so that as I enter this new chapter, that it's like I get to see what wasn't even talked about of something that I built for 20 years, but now that I have the power as a woman to build something else for the next 20 years.
Apparently not a coherent sentence is one of the things she has the power to build, but...
Well, Nikki Bella's thought that somehow in the midst of all this is that the WWE never had a conversation with them about keeping any or using any of the WWE intellectual property after they left the company.
Well, I understand the gist of it, yes. And
she's obviously naive for thinking they would do that, but she's not wrong in thinking it would be a win-win for them to do that if they're not going to be making money on it anyway.
But here's the thing, dipshit. This is the problem. These women were of that generation that just, you had to be pretty and be models or do whatever. I don't mean whatever in that, but I mean some non-wrestling occupation, and they would come in and make you the divas or whatever. And apparently she thinks because they've gotten on reality shows or whatever, as they used to say, she thinks she's a big deal in the wrestling business these days. That's the conversation that she and her sister, Whoosie Whatsy, should have had with the office, not the other way around. The office doesn't come to them and say, oh, by the way, would you like to keep your names? And here, take some of our free office furniture and also a set of dishes. No. I don't know what their relationship was with the office and who they were working with, whether it was positive or negative or somewhere in between. But if their contracts were coming up, were not going to be renewed, they're going on to their new chapter that doesn't involve wrestling, because obviously they're the generation of women that wanted to be WWE stars to go on to reality television and new chapters, rather than they're not going to be getting booked in fucking Japan or goddamn Poughkeepsie. And so they think that the office was going to, hey, we'll give you the opportunity to keep your names and only take 10% or whatever. No, that's the conversation that the Bellas should have been having with the office. Well, hey, can we do stuff as the Bellas if you're cut in some fashion? And tried to pitch that to them. The office didn't need to pitch to them. They needed to pitch to the office. Would that not be your thinking right off the bat? She sounds offended because nobody talked about it. Well, apparently they didn't either. They weren't sitting there across from Vince's desk saying, hey, what about our names? We've established this and that. We want to do something. Let's work something out. They just said, oh, okay, I got a lawyer letter, so fuck them.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, again, you're naive to think that they would do that. You could argue about whether they should or shouldn't. It says something about what they thought the future earning possibilities were of the Bellas brand internally. that they released them.
Well, yeah, and probably they might have as well thought, well, these two, they might sign with AEW. They don't want to be wrestlers, but they could go do whatever the fuck that they're doing over there.
Her husband works there, Brie Bella.
Well, there you go. So that's right, and Danielson. So, they've obviously, if they had been pitched anything about keeping the names, it would have included a clause, you cannot professionally wrestle or whatever it is you call what you do for AEW under this name. And if that was too much trouble, they might have just said, fuck them, let them start over as Garcias or whoever the fuck they are. But again, is someone yet to prefer to me to offer up for evidence a classic Bella match, a classic Bella promo, a reason why that the Bella twins were a big deal in wrestling besides the fact they were twins and they were purty?
I can't tell you a great Bella's match or anything, they were a part of the show. They were that era where people were just a part of the show, and they were a part of the show, and they dated members of the show, and
so
they were really embedded in the show.
They can go ahead and do whatever they like. I don't really have a fucking opinion on it either way. But to think that they were such big stars that somehow the WWE was going to go, oh, here, keep our intellectual property and just give us 10%. Well, that's just ridiculous.
But to that idea, whether it's the Bellas or whether it's any wrestler you could think of, Malachi Black had to change his name, not that he wanted to be Aleister Black, but he had to change his name when he went there. Adam Copeland had to change his name. If you're not retaining the person, and they're not retiring, is it worth WWE in the future having that kind of arrangement? Look, we know you're leaving. We know you're going to work for our competition who we're going to pretend we don't care about, but do everything we can to crush. But if you want, we'll license you your name. We still own it. We'll still be making money on you wrestling somewhere else. But we'll license it. Should WWE be open to that?
No, because that opens up a can of peas with, potentially now that there's new ownership, and it's not like, when Vince dies, what in the world's going to happen? In 10 years, somebody might do this right and open up opposition to them. And then they've set up a precedent or given people that opportunity. No. So I understand what they're doing. And of course, I disagree with the concept of it because I always said, that was the great thing about making stars in wrestling. Once somebody got a name and a name in the magazines and they toured with you knew Terry Funk, you knew Jack Briscoe, or whatever the case, right? And now formerly known as. But if they're going to do it, and they've done it, they need to be consistent with WWE. If you're going to agree to work for them under a name that they make up and give to you, then you got to pretty much realize that you can't take it with you. But I believe that people should, Brock Lesnar, you couldn't change that. There's always going to be exceptions. So at that point, it becomes a bone of contention. But, they're not going to, on the theory that, again, somebody will come along at some point now in the lifetime of the WWE as a corporate entity and do it right. It may be 20 years from now, but they're going to keep their talent exclusive, and you can only see these people here while they're under our banner, and you will only see these names as a WWE production. It's like the old fucking studio system now.
Well, we will move from the studio lot and move forward here with the show. And of course, Jim, we can't speak too much in terms of personal knowledge to what is going on between the Garcias, or Bellas, and WWE. But we do know another party or two who may be receiving a lawyer letter pretty soon. And you'll probably be getting some cast media updates on the show pretty soon. But I think you know who I'm talking about.
Well, I know that, and ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you this. If you go to your mailbox and you pull out your mail and you open one of those envelopes, and when you open up that letter, the first thing you see is the letterhead of the man that we are about to speak to you about, you should shudder in fear, or should shudder in fear, or should shudder potentially in fear, because if you see that letterhead, you know, as Gary Hart used to say, the shit is on, brudda. From this man.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Those are the rest.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, when you open that letter up and you see that letterhead, it's like in the old days when they were drafting people and you'd open the letter and it said, "Greetings from the United States government." You knew you were toast. And the same thing here. If you see the letterhead from the law office of Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com and the new phone number, 877-50-STEVE.
507-8383.
50-STEVE. Then if you see that and you're on the opposite side of that, you are a contentious party to the man that I've just spoken about, then you know that your goose, as they say, is cooked. As Gorilla Monsoon would say, stick a fork in him, 'cause he's done. And you can be on the other side of that as well. You can be the man with Stephen P. New in your corner, or the woman. He does accept employment in cases from both sexes, even more than both, all of them. And you can be the person with Stephen P. New in your corner when you go into a court of law and fight for your rights. He is going to be your gladiator. He is going to be your champion. He is going to be charging up Courthouse Hill to lay waste to all the legal opposition and get you paid and compensated and remunerated and all those other aided things. He might even get you masturbated. He knows people in West Virginia. Once again, newlawoffice.com, 888, no, that's the old one, 877.
877.
That's the new one.
507.
Steve.
507-8383.
It's not even catchy. It's not a jingle, 507-383. I don't even know, but
you can make it one.
50 Steve.
507-8383. You just need a catchy part. You need a hook. That's all you need. The whole thing doesn't have to be catchy.
I'll stick a hook in you.
I'll call my lawyer. I'll get you a lawyer letter.
Hey, I'll get you a lawyer letter from 877-50-STEVE.
I'll be signing lawyer letters, copies of Jim Cornette's lawyer letter here at Last Manor from the Superpodcast store.
Well, you know, we got to get a copy of the Bella's lawyer letter. That would probably, if we could sell that for charity.
It'd be funny if it was just like a prank, like someone wrote, "Dear Bellas, we are ceasing everything as of now. Signed, lawyers."
Mike Leno might have got the Bellas booked in Japan.
Well, Stephen P. New, if you get booked in Japan behind your back, call Stephen,
he's our man. If he can't do it, nobody can. Yay, Steve.
All right. Well, 8383, but Jim.
God damn it.
You see, I made it catchy. You see, I'm getting it stuck in your head, 8383.
Yeah, then you're giving me the subliminal shit like every 8383. Every once in a while in the middle of the sentence, 8383, you'll just. All right.
That's going to be like the new code word amongst Stephen P. New clients. 8383. But Jim.
Most of the codes that Stephen gives out are the codes to the jail so his clients can get out by themselves.
Well, no, that's not what he does. He is a lawyer of repute.
He'll get you out of jail just like that. Boy, he knows all the codes and has copies of all the keys.
By codes, you mean all the laws, and by keys, you mean the legal system, which he'll be maneuvering around to help you out. Hopefully you're not in jail. Stephen P. New, 877-507-8383. But Jim,